At the annual gala, my husband presented me with the Supportive Wife of the Decade award, his voice velvet soft. The LED wall behind us, however, flashed a slow-motion shot of me on my knees buffing mud off his Italian loafers, intercut with itemized receipts: Walmart, $58.60, Napa cabbage, pork shoulder. Freshco, $32, laundry pods, disinfectant. Bay Fish Market, $120, Christian carp, baby back ribs. Standing beside him, the new intern, my cousin, sparkled in my mother's $1 million heirloom diamond and the one-off couture piece I had sewn for myself, impossible to buy. Chase lifted the mic to his lips, every live feed camera capturing the moment in 4K, and thanked the woman he called his stepping stone. "Thank you, my wife," he declared, "for 10 devoted years that let me and the woman I truly love, Luna, move forward without a single worry." The hall detonated in gasps, phones already recording my anticipated meltdown. I simply smiled, took the mic, and said, "Hold on, I have a little something for my dear husband and Lynn too." The prize? A 10-to-life deluxe package, criminal embezzlement plus grand larceny, served together. Next, let's welcome the patriarch of Vance, our very own CEO Chase, to present tonight's most extraordinary honor. The MC's voice rolled through floor-to-ceiling speakers. Crystal chandeliers drenched the ballroom in white fire, champagne, truffle, and six-figure perfume drifted above tables draped in ivory silk. This was the Vance Annual Gala, Eastbrook's tech and design aristocracy toasting the future and flattering the king who funded it. I sat quiet at the head table, watching my husband circulate on stage, tailored to the millimeter, smile calibrated for maximum charm. We had started in a 20-square-foot studio. Tonight the company was valued at $500 million. Outsiders saw the textbook power couple myth. Only I knew how many sleepless hours of my code, my renderings, my hush-money NDAs were poured into the invisible foundation beneath his glass tower glory. Chase accepted the microphone, found me in the glare of spotlights, and layered warmth over ice in his gaze. 10 years ago, he began, the live feed streaming to 500,000 viewers. Jade and I owned nothing but a dented hatchback and one shared winter coat. She shelved her own career, buried her passions, became my full-time fuel. Without her, there is no Chase, no Vance. Applause detonated, pearls of envy and admiration rained on me. I kept the perfect smile, fingernails carving crescents into my palms beneath the table. So tonight I created a one-time accolade, Supportive Wife of the Decade, for the cornerstone of my life, my wife, Jade. He stretched his hand toward me, cheers doubled. I rose, gathered the silk train of my gown, and walked the endless red carpet that felt like a decade compressed into 30 steps. "Little Juan, you've worked so hard," he whispered, fingers vicing mine, voice syrupy enough to drip. I searched his pupils for a flicker of the boy who once warmed my numb toes in that unheated studio. All I found was arithmetic and a flash of cruelty. The 30-foot LED wall blossomed behind us. "Let's relive the love story that built an empire," the MC crowed. I tasted iron. The verdict I had rehearsed for months was about to be read by him. Instead of our first prototype render or our factory ribbon cutting, the screen froze on a grainy iPhone snap, me kneeling on rainy asphalt, wiping sludge off his prized Oxfords while he stood scrolling his phone. That afternoon he'd been late for an investor pitch. I jumped out to spare his precious shoes. Now the photo ballooned, overlaid with maudlin strings, casting my humility as humiliation. Next came carousel of digital receipts, his corporate card, my daily groceries scrolling like end credits of a tragedy. Walmart, $58.60, Napa cabbage, pork shoulder. Freshco, $32, laundry pods, disinfectant. Bay Fish Market, $120, Christian carp, baby back ribs. A neon caption blinked, "He brings home the bacon, she merely looks pretty?" The question mark curled like a sneer. Whispers braided into a restless hive, Instagram stories already auto-populated with crying laughing emojis. Chase tightened his grip as if to fracture my metacarpals, smile never slipping. "Everyone, behold my wife, 10 years of home-cooked meals and spotless floors, all for me. Then his tone pivoted, honey to champagne, and he looked past my shoulder to the front row. Luna stood, shimmering in the champagne organza mermaid gown I had cut and beaded during last year's insomnia, the single-star river sample never intended for sale. Around her throat twinkled my parure of diamonds, on her left ring finger sat the 6-carat heirloom solitaire that had disappeared from my safe without a trace. Cameras panned, hungry. Chase raised the mic like a wedding toast. Thank you, my wife, for clearing every roadblock so that Luna, the woman I genuinely love, and I can finally be together, free of baggage. For one heartbeat the ballroom was vacuum silent. Then came the eruption, metal chairs scraping, gossip geysering, notification pings layering like cymbals. I simply drew a calm breath, claimed the mic, and turned to face the kingdom I had coded in the dark. Ladies and gentlemen, patience please. Time for my awards segment. I let the hush settle until chandeliers seemed to ring. The trophy? Criminal embezzlement plus grand larceny, consecutive sentences, 10 to life deluxe package. I pivoted toward the wings, the auditor I'd hired strode out, USB drive in hand, CFO already pale. Let's watch our patriarch accept his prize, I finished, voice velvet soft, smile finally genuine. He thought I'd fall apart, thought I'd scream, thought I'd lunge at Luna like some madwoman. The whole room was poised for the spectacle, waiting for me to throw a tantrum worthy of viral memes. Instead, I simply looked at him, at that face glowing with triumph. Then I smiled. In the funeral hush of the ballroom my laugh rang out, clean and metallic. Chase's eyebrows snapped together, my reaction had detonated outside the script he'd written. I slid my hand free of his rigid fingers and plucked the mic from his fist. The alloy shell was ice cold, just like the thing in my chest. I stepped to the edge of the stage, swept my gaze across the sea of parted lips and widened eyes, and finally pinned the two pale faces in front of me. Patience, my voice poured through every speaker, and thank you, Vance, for your candor. In return, I have a little award for my loving husband and Lynn. I let the pause stretch until the silence squeaked, watching the blood drain from them in real time. The prize? I enunciated, sweet as a scalpel, criminal embezzlement plus grand larceny, our deluxe 10 to life package. The words landed like a guillotine. For 2 heartbeats the crowd forgot to breathe. Chase's skin mottled from alabaster to slate. He lurched forward, clawing for the mic. Jade! Have you lost your mind? It's the gala, stop this lunacy. I sidestepped, letting his hand swipe air, and gave the crowd a soft, pitying chuckle. Lunacy? Darling, the curtain just rose, why rush the encore? I snapped my fingers toward the A/V booth, our prearranged cue. The humiliating clip of me kneeling to Luna vanished, the LED wall went black. A second video rolled. First frame, a glass-walled design office overlooking the harbor. On screen I wore a razor-sharp black suit, hair twisted into a businesslike knot, fluent French spilling from my lips as I negotiated with several fair-haired executives. Subtitles glowed, Saint Laurent, APAC Chief Procurement Officer, Pierre. I was walking them through a concept matrix, structure, materials, sustainability metrics, every syllable crisp, every gesture CEO-level confident. This was me, and yet not the me the audience thought they knew, the housewife squabbling over grocery receipts. Gasps fluttered through the seats. Holy, Jade speaks French like a native? Saint Laurent? They're the apex predator of fashion. Why wasn't this on our client list? Check the watermark, J.W. Design Studio? What the hell is that? Chase's pupils shrank to pinholes. No, impossible. He whispered, color hemorrhaging from his face. The real cut, now I stood on an international awards stage hoisting a golden pencil. The host barked in exuberant English, "Congratulations to the reclusive genius from the East, Jay, whose project Flowing Light fuses Zen minimalism with modern structuralism, winner of the Gold Pencil Grand." Jay? Our design director rocketed to his feet. The shadow laureate the whole industry's been chasing is Jade? I let the question dangle just long enough, then brought the mic back to my lips. That's correct. I am Jay. Screen split, documents replaced the trophy shot. Vance's seed capital, $1 million, my personal premarital assets. All 37 core technology patents, holder, Jade. Top 10 revenue clients, including Saint Laurent, contracted directly through J.W. Design Studio. Vance is merely the downstream executor. Final slide, cap table chart. Vance, 70% undisclosed majority shares, Jade. You, Chase, I pointed like a judge passing sentence, the remaining 30 was the salary I gifted you, year after year. Silence, so total you could hear the chandeliers hum. Live chat inside the company's stream detonated, mind implosion. The real queen was hiding in plain sight. So Mr. CEO is basically an employee? And he was flexing on her? Thank God for surveillance and PowerPoint. Sis just abolished patriarchy in 4K. Chase staggered back 2 steps, mouth gaping like a dying fish. You lied to me, for 10 years? Lied? My chuckle could have frostbitten steel. I handed you the spotlight. I stayed backstage designing every beam that lit you. Remember the vow? I create, you manage, equal partners. My voice snapped into a whip crack, but you rebranded my gift as your conquest. You embezzled my money, betted my cousin, drove my car, lived in my house, and planned to dump me like some obsolete appliance? I closed the distance until only the mic separated us. Your empire was a sandcastle I let you rule. I'm done watching the tide. His cheeks rotated through every shade of humiliation, ash, scarlet, liver purple. Fabrications, he shrieked. All forged. Forged? I cocked my head. Sweetheart, the encore is live evidence. My gaze flicked to Luna. She was trembling so violently her stolen heirloom diamond stuttered sparks under the chandeliers. Lynn, that Stardust one-off couture piece you're wearing is gorgeous, I said languidly. While you have it on, have you ever stopped to think that the woman who sketched every seam is standing right in front of you? And that ring on your finger, my mother's only heirloom, does it still feel comfortable? Luna's face drained paper white. Her lips trembled, not a single syllable escaped. You stole my design, snatched my ring, and thought you could walk off with my life? I shook my head and studied her with pity. Pity, this look isn't made for you. I snapped my fingers again. On the LED wall, the third exhibit appeared. Just now President Vance accused me of forging evidence. Let's watch something you can't Photoshop. My voice was calm, flat, as if I were reading yesterday's weather. First up, a harmless selfie Luna posted on Instagram. The shot showed her sweet smile and a tastefully styled corner of a room. The caption read, "Work hard, live well." Thousands had liked it, most people would keep scrolling. You probably think it's nothing special, I told the ballroom, every inch the keynote speaker. But a decade in interior design trains your eye to catalog space, light, texture. I notice things most people miss. I lifted a finger, the image zoomed, and a red circle ringed a sliver of wall. Notice this surface. Imported German FEMA paint, colorway Galaxy Gray. Under certain light it diffuses in a signature scatter pattern. See how the sunlight enters from the right, yet the reflection pulls top left? That tells us the room faces south with no tall neighbors to block exposure. A hush swallowed the banquet tables, guests stared, transfixed. Now, this sofa, I continued, pointing to the furniture behind her. Poliform's discontinued St. Germain's sectional. Placed exactly 30 inches off the wall, room for the built-in library drawers to open. The only local complex that uses that exact plan is Sky Pinnacle. Chase's shoulders jerked as if he'd touched a live wire. Sky Pinnacle prides itself on discretion. Yet when I searched 6 months of title transfers, I found no buyer named Chase or Luna. I did, however, find Leo, Luna's baby brother. Unit A2801, a 3,900 square foot penthouse. Paid in full, $32 million. I smiled at the pair while their complexions turned to ash. President Vance, what a generous brother-in-law, splurging on a marital nest. Curious, though, whose corporate account funded the wire? I didn't wait for an answer. The screen cut to 4K footage shot from a tiny lens hidden inside a shelf sculpture. Scene 1, Sky Pinnacle's living room. Chase and Luna tangled on the velvet sofa. Chase, are you really going to do it at the gala? Luna cooed, dripping fake concern. Jade, will she be able to take it? Chase snorted, tipped her chin, kissed her hard. That's the idea, break her in one blow. She'll be too humiliated to stay and sign away everything. Idiot still thinks I love her. Without her sketchpad and her client list, I'd have dumped her ages ago. But the firm, the entire team worships me now. After today we flush the last assets through the shell companies. Your brother's set for life, and we finally live like royalty. On screen, he opened a laptop and dragged multi-million-dollar payments into an offshore routing table, each masked by fake purchase orders. One memo read, Homefa Building Supply, $500,000. I paused on that invoice, the cursor frozen mid-transfer. President Vance, this purchase contract, $500,000, signed by you, payable to a shell corp. My tone could have frozen champagne. And that forever one diamond necklace currently warming Lynn's throat? Bought last week at IFC, price tag, $500,000 even. Luna recoiled as if the jewel had turned into a hot coal. Lynn, buying bling with company money, delightful, isn't it? Legally we call it criminal embezzlement. A fresh intern graduating straight to grand larceny, now that's career acceleration. The playback rolled on. New angle, the walk-in closet of our clifftop mansion, recorded by my own security node half a year earlier. A furtive silhouette slipped through the mirrored doors, Luna. She beelined to my vanity, slid open the drawer, and lifted the velvet box. The heirloom diamond flashed once before she pocketed it. Giddy greed warped her face, timestamp read 2:17 a.m. grand larceny, I stated, ice forming on every syllable. A family relic worth more than $1 million. Under state law that's a 10-to-life deluxe package. No. It wasn't me. Luna finally shattered, shrieking. You gave it to me, Jade. Remember? Gave it to you? I laughed, the sound brittle. When? Where? Any witnesses? She opened her mouth, nothing emerged but choked sobs. Chase snapped out of his daze, index finger stabbing the air. Jade! Planting cameras in our home, you vicious witch. Vicious? I met his fury with disgust. If I hadn't left myself one insurance policy, tonight I'd be the penniless footnote you trotted out the door. Chase, next to your malice, my precautions are elementary self-defense. Ignoring their howls and whimpers, I lifted my phone so the audience could see the dialed call already ringing through. End attorney? All the evidence has been shown, and the live stream has been screen recorded. You can notify the police. The instant the words left my mouth, the ballroom's heavy double doors burst open from the outside. Several stone-faced officers in uniform strode in. Every head swiveled toward the entrance. The air solidified. Their arrival was a bucket of ice water on the last embers of chatter. The final traces of color drained from Chase and Luna's faces, replaced by ashen despair. The lead detective's eyes were lasers. He mounted the stage, flashed his badge. Economic Crimes Unit. Chase, Luna, we have a complaint alleging criminal embezzlement and grand larceny in extraordinary amounts. Come with us for questioning. 2 officers stepped forward, cold cuffs glinting. No. I won't go. Luna shrieked, dropping to her knees and crawling toward me. Cousin. I was wrong. I'm sorry. We're family, you can't do this to me. I stepped back, avoiding her grasp, and looked down coldly. Now we're family? When you stole my mother's heirloom, you didn't think of family. When you helped my husband bleed my accounts and boot me from my own home, where was family? Chase made me. All of it. Luna clawed at the air, jabbing a finger at him. He seduced me, taught me how to move the money, told me to take the ring. He said if I listened I'd be the next Vance. You lying bitch. Chase lunged, shaking with rage, but an officer caught his arm mid-swing. Watching the 2 turn on each other was grotesque comedy. Cousin! Luna howled, snot and tears streaking her face. Think of Leo! His provincial exam interview is days away, he's our only hope. If I'm arrested he'll fail the background check, his life will be over. Please! She tried to chain me with blood ties and her little brother's future. Just then 2 figures shoved through the crowd, uncle and aunt, Luna's parents. Jade, you black-hearted wretch! Aunt shrieked, fingers stabbing at me. What did Luna ever do to deserve this? She's your own cousin, have you no conscience? Uncle's eyes were red, voice quavering with hurt. Little Jade, we watched you grow. How did you become so vicious? You'll wreck your own nephew for revenge? You'll drive our whole family to ruin? They sang the old duet, trying to paint me as the villain deaf to family bonds. The live chat feed wavered, scum deserve jail, but the kid's innocent. Ruining a young man's career, too far? Kid's got talent? He shouldn't need his sister to steal for him. Brace yourselves, relatives guilt-tripping in 3, 2, 1. Looking at this spectacle, the last ember of my faith in family snuffed out. Uncle, aunt, I said, voice quiet yet carrying over their wails, perfect timing. I have one final present. I lifted my phone and pressed play. A crisp recording rang through the ballroom mics, clatter of a private dining room in the background. Aunt's smug tone led off, Luna, hang on to Chase. Once he dumps that bitch Jade, the company money is ours. Uncle chimed in, right. And Leo's interview? Chase says the fix is in, just needs the cash. This is our family's shining moment, don't slip. Then Luna, hesitant, Dad, Mom, aren't we being too cruel to cousin? After all, cruel? Aunt cut her off. Remember when you were sick and your aunt, her mother, wouldn't lend us a cent? Jade's looked down on us since we were kids. Now we get ours. She deserves every ounce of this. A needle of pain twisted in me. My mother hadn't refused, Uncle's gambling had swallowed every previous loan. She'd only begged him to quit, he'd nursed that grudge for decades. Uncle's sinister voice returned with the nastiest scheme. Luna, listen. After we get the money and Leo's in, first thing, we report Jade's company for tax fraud. Guilty or not, drag her through an audit till she's bleeding stress. Then what? Once Leo's a civil servant with clout, finding excuses to bury a businesswoman won't be hard. We'll teach her the price of crossing the Lin family. We grind her into dust so she never rises again. The recording ended. Silence slammed down like a coffin lid. The chat that had wavered seconds earlier detonated. Holy hell, these people are parasites. Farmer and the Viper? More like piranhas, someone cuff them all. Report her for taxes? Use a civil post for revenge? That's extortion and libel. Officers, grab the parents too. Uncle and aunt stood as if lightning struck, faces cycling from disbelief to horror to ash. They never imagined their private plotting had been captured note for note. The lead detective's jaw was steel. He flicked a hand, suspected extortion and defamation, take them in as well. We didn't. It's fake, they screeched, kicking like toddlers, but the officers hauled them up without ceremony. Chase and Luna were already cuffed. Watching her parents dragged away, Luna's last pillar crumbled, she sagged to the floor, a broken doll. Chase just stared at me, the anger gone from his eyes, replaced by bottomless fear and regret. At last he understood, the woman he'd provoked was never some docile housewife he could twist at will. I met his gaze, walked calmly off the stage, and paused when I reached him. In a voice only he could hear, I said, 10 years ago I lifted you from nothing and set you on a throne. Tonight I sent you straight to hell. May you, your true love, and her hope-filled family rot there together. I didn't spare him another glance. I strode toward the ballroom doors. Behind me came the cold click of handcuffs and the Lin family's sobs and curses. For the first time in years, I felt light. The decade-long nightmare was over. The annual gala ended in chaos. By morning, headlines screamed across every feed and finance page, Vance shocker, Beauty Slam's cheating hubby, homewrecker cousin, entire clan. Overnight, the name Jade, and the initial J, trended worldwide. Some called me ruthless, others praised my patience, most hailed me as the icon of a woman reborn. I switched my phone off and locked the noise outside. My first act was to summon every employee. In the conference room, unease crackled, no one knew if the company would survive. I stood at the head of the table, scanned the faces I knew and the ones I didn't, and announced, Vance will enter Chapter 7 liquidation, effective today. Gasps rippled through the room. President Vance, why kill it now? We're headline gold, this is our launch moment. The design director who once doubted me looked frantic. I smiled and shook my head. The word Vance is tattooed with betrayal and filth. It means nothing to me anymore. I'm founding J.W. Design under my own name. Stay, and your salary jumps 30%. Year-end bonuses? You get them right now. Finance hauled in crates of fat red envelopes. Staff who had winced when I was humiliated received double. Loyalty is simple, you give me 1 ounce of kindness, I return 10. In the end, 90% of the core team stayed. They never worked for Chase's hollow shine, they stayed for the real weight the letter J carries in design circles. When the dust settled, attorney called. Vance, Chase and Luna have confessed to criminal embezzlement and grand larceny. The haul tops $30 million, especially enormous under the statute. As ringleader, Chase is looking at 15 years minimum, Luna, even as accessory, won't dodge a 10-year stretch. He paused. Your uncle and aunt were collared for instigating the crimes and attempted blackmail. Leo's $3 million condo is frozen as proceeds, with immediate relatives now felons and the scandal viral, his civil service review was vetoed. One big, happy family, behind bars. Everything they schemed to seize evaporated. The only hope of the Lin line was strangled by their own hands. Perfect ending, really. I hung up and stood alone in the hollow office while New Year's first sunlight poured over Eastbrook. My phone buzzed with a new contact request, a stark black and white avatar, the single name read. I tapped accept. A message popped up. Vance, congratulations. Your Counter-Strike was the finest design I've seen this year. I recognized him at once, Liam, Asia-Pacific director of Saint Laurent, the legend famed for ruthless taste. He was also the pen pal I'd emailed for 3 years, though we'd never met. I answered, high praise, Reed. It was only spring cleaning. Once the house is spotless, new work can begin. Care to discuss the opening gift for J.W. Design? The next ping was a PDF, Saint Laurent's 5-year plan to roll out flagship stores across Asia, budget north of $500 million. I stared at the screen until, for the first time since the scandal began, a real smile curved my lips. I had wasted a decade on the wrong man, but the skills I forged in those years were armor no one could crack. I lost a rotting marriage and a counterfeit family, I won back my life, and a future large enough to swallow the horizon. I typed, of course. But before we talk contracts, you should buy me dinner to celebrate my rebirth. His reply was instant. My pleasure, Vance. You pick the place, the time is now. I grabbed my coat from the chair and walked out into sunlight that felt just right, wind that carried no weight. A new life was waiting. Thank you for listening. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this tale? If it moved you, like and share with friends. We can't wait to read your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories. See you next time.